and welcome back to another edition of Raw out of 10 right here on the Wrestle Debate. Tonight's edition of Raw revolved around Kofi Kingston as the former WWE champions involved in several segments throughout the night. We found out the stipulations for Drew and Lashley's title match and learned who would challenge next for the Raw tag team titles. So it's fair to say a pretty action-packed show. Let's get straight into it. Raw kicked off with a huge tag team battle royal being set up. RK Bro made their entrance while the rest of the teams were already in the ring. The tag champs showed up right before the match and gave some backhand compliments to the team. The New Day took shots at the champs before Riddle started talking about his t-shirt and how Randy never wears any. Randy made him shut up, thank God for that, before The Miz showed up in a wheelchair with John Morris. The Miz said they were the best in the tag division and they were the ones that were making things more interesting. Before he moved into the Battle Royal, Miz was outside for the match as Morrison competed himself. Lindsay Dorado was the first to be eliminated, followed by Morrison, thanks to Mason T-Bar. The New Day took double chokeslams from Mason T-Bar before they went after Randy. Riddle went to save Randy and took a double chokeslam before the Viking Raiders faced off with Mason T-Bar before we headed to a break. Back in the match, Riddle was eliminated by the New Day before they went after Ivar, but the Vikings managed to eliminate Woods. Eric and Ivar took a beating from Orton before Riddle came back to defend Randy and took a Kofi Kingston's Trouble in Paradise. The Vikings managed to eliminate both and picked up the win. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. For me, this was actually well done for a change. Each team got their own little highlight moment, so I really enjoyed it, and it was a surprise but nice winner too. Charlotte walked up to Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce backstage on Raw and won the match with Nikki Cross. Rhea Ripley showed up and suggested that they should be partners tonight and they should face Nikki and a partner of her choosing. Pearce agreed before the Viking Raiders were backstage and we had a run-in with Styles and Omos and they attempted to belittle their new challengers, but it didn't work. Omos seemed to walk out with the Viking Raiders' turkey legs. Elias was back on Raw then and Riker was nowhere to be seen. Elias said it was Riker's fault that they didn't manage to win any of the titles and called him unhinged. After showing some footage last week, Elias was still speaking when Riker attacked him and he went into a match. Riker had the advantage on Elias early on and continued to beat him down. Elias managed to fight back and send Riker into the steel steps before hitting a slime buster. Elias then tried for the atomic bomb, but Riker fought back and pulled Elias's beard. Elias was sent out to the outside of the ring and he retreated backstage while the referee counted him out. Not only was 5 out of 10, I don't know if they're trying to babyface Riker, but if they are, it's really not going to work. It was clear that the Drifter didn't want anything to do with his partner, but it's obvious Riker's not done with Elias yet. It just kind of reinforces my point. Slightly concerning and just bad booking. McIntyre was out next on Raw for the contract signing, but no one showed up when Lashley's music hit. Drew told a story about not giving up and was about to sign the contract before MVP and Lashley showed up and told Drew to hold up till they showed to the ring. Lashley and MVP came down and said that if the champ loses, he would never get a title shot again while Lashley was in possession. Pearce added to the clause to the contract after Drew agreed to it. Lashley continued to trash talk and signed the contract. The former champion has a stipulation of his own, wanting no more games and no cheap outs. McIntyre demanded that this final match takes place in Hell in a Cell, which Lashley and MVP agreed to. Drew threatened Lashley before using a sword to slice the table into. Decent as contract signings go, to be honest, no bollocks. Before Nikki Cross was backstage on Raw and revealed her surprise tag team partner was Asuka. Sheamus was then out in the ring and showed off his broken nose. He started speaking before the match between Ricochet and Humberto Carrillo. Ricochet came down, ignored it and took Carrillo out. We returned to the Raw to see the match was underway. Ricochet was in control. Carrillo fought back and jumped through the ropes to take out Ricochet after sending him outside. Ricochet and Carrillo were both on the apron when they ran out and took each other out. They then hit a Spanish Fly. Neither man was unable to beat the count, and Sheamus was the only one walking away with a smile. 5 out of 10. I mean, just put one of these over. This has been going on for so long. It's so repetitive. It's turgid. Just put one of them over, for Christ's sake. Before backstage on Raw, MVP praised Kofi Kingston and said that Kofi inspired his own comeback to the WWE. MVP said he was sad to see him shaking hands with Drew after the match last night and told him to tougher up. Kofi got mad and said that his friends and family gave him the support he needs to be in the ring. Before it's announced Eva Marie is returning next week. Oh boy. Mansoor was then backstage and Ali gave him some advice on dealing with his opponents who didn't fight square. Ali knew Mansoor's opponent was tonight, and gave them all the tricks about Drew Gulak before he got Jeff Hardy versus Cedric Alexander. Jeff Hardy taught Alexander a lesson early on before Cedric countered Hardy and started unloading on the veteran. Cedric got near falls on before stomping on Hardy's face. Hardy got a big kick before Cedric countered. Cedric then hit some more kicks with the inverted atomic drop and Russian leg sweep, getting a near fall of his own. Cedric was on the top rope and mocked Hardy but missed the following dive. Hardy went and hit a Swanton bomb to get the win. I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. It was a decent enough match, but it kind of just feels like this is the position where Jeff Hardy is now. Maybe he should have been putting over the younger talent, but who knows, it's always good to see Jeff Hardy win and hit the Swanton bomb. Next up is Nikki Cross and Asuka versus Charlotte and Rhea Ripley. Charlotte tagged Rhea in right away, and Nikki made a tag shortly after, letting Asuka pick up the early lead on the women's champ. Asuka went for a modified armbar, but Rhea powered through. Tags were made, and Rhea entered up outside where Charlotte tried to check on her. Rhea shoved her away, and things got tense as Flair dragged her down from the apron, but let the match go on. As the match continued, after a break, Flair got a few near falls while ignoring Rhea's tag requests. Flair slapped Rhea as a tag, and the match still went on. Flair was back in it and hit Rhea with Nikki's feet while Cross was on her shoulders. Asuka tagged in and Charlotte ran a distraction, letting Rhea get a near fall. Nikki was on the top rope and hit the crossbody on Rhea, but Charlotte broke the pin up. Ripley and Charlotte started to brawl in the ring, and Charlotte took out Rhea and hit a natural selection before Nikki Cross took advantage and pinned her. I'm going to give this a 5 out of 10. This just seems like such a backwards way to book the women's tag team division. Just make them look strong, not make them lose to people who you've already buried on multiple occasions. Then time for Mansoor versus Drew Gulak. Gulak started off strong and went for the early roll-ups, but Mansoor reversed it every time. Mansoor was grounded and managed to get some offense in before Gulak went for the tights, but Mansoor countered it and got a very quick win. 6 out of 10. Makes Mansoor look strong. You actually did a proper Scotch job, and it turns out Ali might be quite good at the old tactics. But yeah, this was interesting to see them pushing Mansoor that hard. But anyway, Riddle was backstage and set his sights on his match on Raw. Randy let him speak for just a moment before taking the key and putting it in the trash. We then got Riddle versus Kofi Kingston. Riddle had an early Broton while Woods played his trombone, distracting Riddle. Kofi got the upper hand off the distraction, and Riddle was starting to get angry. Randy Orton's music hit and he walked out mid-match, going afterwards. Kofi took out Randy with a slide before Randy sent Woods into the announce desk. Kofi hit a big dive outside on RK Bro before he headed for a break. Back on Raw, Riddle hit an explosive suplex before Cody countered the superplex. Riddle then hit the draping DDT on the ropes before going for the RKO but missed. Kofi then went for the Trouble in Paradise and missed, allowing Kofi to get the win with his next try. I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. This was okay. Actually, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. It just feels like this was overdone. They just had a match earlier. It just didn't really take into account any other bits of the show, but the match was decent enough. This was then in the ring, sitting on the swing and talking to Lily in the final moments of Raw. Shayna Baszler then entered the ring and said that all she could do is be friends with Lily if Shayna apologised. Shayna refused and blamed Bliss for their tag title loss. Alexa suddenly got serious and asked Shayna to apologise once more. Shayna grabbed the doll and falsely apologised before tossing her aside. Alexa attacked Shayna, but Baszler tossed her out of the ring and stepped on the doll. The lights and screen started going crazy in that area, and the pyro started triggering all at once. Shayna ran backstage, and the lights were flickering as the equipment started falling from the ceiling. Shayna ran into a room and locked it before she looked in the mirror and saw Lily. However, it was only a reflection. Shayna smashed the mirror, but Lily was still there, and we heard Shayna scream as Raw went off the air. Oh my god, I just don't know what to say. Shayna Baszler, if you've ever seen her NXT run, nothing but pain seeing her like this, just only pain. Overall, Raw this week gets a 5 out of 10 from me. It wasn't the best show I've ever seen, put it that way. I mean, to be honest, there were some decent bits on it. The tag team battle or the contract signing for a contract signing wasn't, dreadful. But just like Shayna Baszler, what have you done to her? Jesus effing Christ. But anyway guys, that's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, comments down below. Follow me on Twitter, link in the description below for daily wrestling news. Subscribe to my channel on the screen right now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace.